Hello, everyone. We are back with another partner episode. These mini episodes that show you all of the amazing partners that AWS works with that relate to FinOps. And we try and focus on ones that offer a free element so you guys can give it a go and see how it works. But we have Kay with us to talk about KubeCost, which I'm excited. Do you want to introduce yourself and give us your 1-minute origin story before we start diving into what KubeCost is and how people can use it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Kai Wambacher. I'm one of the product managers here at KubeCost. I've been here almost 2 years now, which is kind of crazy. Time really flies. My background, a little bit about me. My background's really in data science and machine learning. I started off as a machine learning engineer for the first few years of my career before kind of realizing, coding all day, every day was maybe not so much for me. And kind of moved into product management, and really became fascinated with the cloud infrastructure and cost optimization space when I was a developer and I trained a neural network for one of my companies. I actually ran up like a $10,000 bill in less than a week and had no idea what I was doing, and we didn't even get an alert until the end of the month that my company was left with some massive bill as a result of me training this model. So I have faced this problem before. It felt very real in the early stages of my career. So I was excited the opportunity to kind of solve this problem at KubeCost.
Of the backstory, you are a classic concern that people in FinOps have, but you took that and you own it now, and you have working on this great tool that can help people hopefully avoid some of that stuff. So let's get into what KubeCost actually is and what it does.
Yeah, absolutely. So KubeCost, as you kind of may be able to infer from the name, we really started as cost monitoring for Kubernetes. So really, we kind of started, and we're pretty much the only and the first company that gives you granular insights to your Kubernetes spend all the way down to the container level and everything in between, from labels and annotations. You can kind of slice and dice your cost and your Kubernetes spend however you want. And beyond that, we've really grown to be able to ingest all of your cloud spend. So you can kind of see all of that together in a single pane of glass. And we've just recently open sourced our new external cost plugins. So developers, if you want one tool for all of your IT costs, that's really kind of our vision. You can join our open cost community and contribute these external cost plugins so that everything is together for one place, and in real time as well. So you're not waiting until the end of the month when you're stuck with a $10,000 cloud bill. You're getting all of these insights in real time.
We love open source. That's what we love to hear, those kind of phrases thrown around on here. So who is the main target audience for this kind of tool?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say, primarily, our end user is DevOps professionals who, are running these Kubernetes clusters and are, just now or very recently starting to question, how much are we spending, and are we spending that efficiently? Could we be spending it more efficiently and saving money? And really, we've seen, that kind of create this new area of FinOps. We have a ton of FinOps professionals who use our tool as well. So it's really kind of this hybrid between DevOps and FinOps. And, our clients or customers who are perhaps most successful with KubeCost, they're really able to have both of those teams using this application and getting value from KubeCost, making their environment more efficient, running chargeback, showback schemes, etc.
Brilliant. So we're going to get into a demo in a second so you can show us all the amazing features on it. But I always have to ask this question and kind of challenge my partners. What makes you different than other tools in the same kind of bracket for this?
Yeah, I would really say, number one is the real-time granular cost reporting. So it's the ability to really create cost reports for any team or business unit, any kind of cost center that you need to. But it's also just kind of an all-in-one tool, right? So we do have savings automation to help you save money, and we have dashboards to ensure, your wasted spend is not increasing. But we also have governance tools so you can set budgets. And ensure you're not going over, your expected spend. We have a predict API so that the cost of a change or a new deployment before you actually execute that. So that in cases like me where I'm about to train a model and I don't know what it's going to cost, you can, ask KubeCost. We're going to say, hey, that's going to cost $10,000. Maybe pump the brakes there for a second. So, I think it's really just kind of the ability to have it all in one place that, has been impactful for a lot of our teams.
Yeah, one pane of glass definitely makes it a lot easier and people don't have to jump around and see different things. All right, let us shift over to the demo.
Awesome. Yeah. So as you dive into KubeCost, you'll notice we have tons of information. Like I said, we're trying to give you everything you need to wrangle your costs in one tool. And this page is really kind of our bread and butter. So this is really, I want to be able to allocate my Kubernetes costs to some team, to some business unit, whatever it is. So you can come in here and you see, your costs over time for each of your, at this point, we're aggregated by namespace. But you can kind of come in here and say, okay, I want to drill into this Acme Fitness namespace. You can see this aggregated by controllers, drill in again, and we see each of the pods running here, and we can drill in even further and see each of the containers in this pod. So the way we calculate your costs is we look at, the real-time usage. So this is actually, built on top of OpenCost, which is our open source technology. And that's going to give you, again, real-time granular visibility into costs. So we basically use the publicly available cloud APIs to estimate a cost associated with all of this usage. So you can see this container is using, this much CPU, this much RAM, and here's the approximate rate given the node it's running on.
And is that, when you say that, pulled from kind of like AWS pricing data that you would get that from? Yeah,
exactly. So it's totally dependent on like which region and which cloud provider this node is on that we are able to like make get the hourly rate. But then if you may have like savings plans, or maybe you have some enterprise discount with your cloud provider. So once you set up your cloud integration, we will actually reconcile those costs so that the costs you see in KubeCost match what you're paying on your credit card.
And is that through ingesting things like the CURT, or is there just kind of people set up parameters based on what
exactly? So we actually, in addition to showing you these Kubernetes costs, we ingest your whole CURT across each of the 3 cloud providers. So you can see here, right? I've got the CURT from my GCP right next to AWS, right next to Azure, and so we pull from the CURT, and then we're able to reconcile those costs again, so that the discounts and savings plan, whatever it is reflected in KubeCost, and we can match your bill.
Brilliant. So this stuff is all very focused on kind of cost allocation, right? So you can understand who's using what and how much, rather than just a EC2 spend. Brilliant.
Exactly. And the nice thing too is our Cloud Cost Explorer is totally compliant with the Focus spec developed by the FinOps Foundation. So all of these aggregation and filters are Focus spec compliant, so that you're able to you don't have vendor lock-in. You're able to see all of your cloud providers on a single pane of glass and have the same set of tools to interact with all of them.
Excellent. Love the focus thrown.
Yeah. This is actually a new view for us, this efficiency view. So, in general, I'm sure you've seen this stuff, is like most teams, their cloud spend is like up and to the right? It's generally always growing, right? They've got, the company's growing, right? So their application is developing in complexity. They've got more users. This is really kind of a dashboard I see to help you monitor. Let me just get a dashboard for my waste or my idle costs. So, this is really the thinking is like, hey, if you're running efficient infrastructure, this should really stay flat or even decrease over time. And we really kind of break it down between workload idle and infra idle, your wasted spend. So workload idle in our context is going to be the amount of spend you have on resources which are requested or reserved, but not used. If you're requesting, a gig of RAM and you're only using 500 megs, that other 500 megs is wasted spend.
Right.
And then infra idle is the cost associated with resources neither requested nor used. So this is kind of how we help teams, really try and think about their spend so that they can take the approach to save money that makes the most sense for them. So for instance, like if you have large infra idle, that's where things like Carpenter can really come in and help, right? Because it'll provision smaller nodes or kill extra nodes, kill extra capacity, help you reduce your infra idle. But things like workload idle, that's really where a tool like KubeCost can help you. because we have a bunch of savings insights here. For example, our right sizing container requests. You can come in here and say, okay, I have this container here. Its maximum usage is this. Here's its average usage, but it's currently requesting 6 gigs of RAM, right? It doesn't need anywhere close to that much. So we recommend putting it here, and you can see an estimated monthly savings with that adjustment. And of course, we have automation that you can run to automatically implement these recommendations and save money and reduce workload idle.
And with the automation, I'm assuming it's something you install in the deployment of the resources. That's all kind of managed on the cloud provider side, and then you guys can
it actually just requires, so when you install KubeCost, it's actually very easy. It's just a simple copy paste of the Helm command, and then you install agents. You install our kind of agents on all clusters. To run the automation, you also have to install our cluster controller on those kind of clusters so that we can actually take control. That's the only thing that actually gives us write permission on the clusters.
Okay. And so where's the line in the sand when it comes to the free elements and the paid elements? I'm assuming things like the automation, that kind of stuff is more of the paid tier.
Actually, so all of our functionality for the most part is available for free. We definitely try to be an open organization. We actually have it's kind of like an onion. We have KubeCost, which is it's our open source technology, which is focused on the real-time cost allocation. Then we have KubeCost free, which gives you all of this functionality for free up to clusters with 250 cores. It's single cluster only, and it's up to but basically up to kind of small, medium-sized clusters. You can run the automation. You get all of our insights and functionality for free. It's once you get beyond that, when you're running kind of bigger size clusters, that we start looking at the enterprise tier.
Oh, amazing. Okay, that's great. Love that.
Yeah. I mean, I think it helps teams get started with KubeCost and get started on their cost allocation journey. And then look, as your team grows and becomes successful with KubeCost, we'd love to grow alongside with you.
Brilliant. All right. Is there anything else you want to showcase in the demo?
I think, like I mentioned, we also have this new network monitoring page. So, basically giving you the ability, we see this all the time with customers where network spend is a total black box. I actually worked with a customer who they had in 1 month, I think it was, a 300% increase or spike in their network spend. And it took them, I believe, 2 to 3 months to determine where that spike came from, and then another month remediate that issue. And so all this while, for this entire quarter, you are just incurring these higher than normal or higher than needed networking bill. So this feature was really developed with that use case in mind, which is hey, just give me my network spend at a glance. And you can kind of come in and say, okay, this is one of my namespaces. It's got some thicker arrows, right? So it's got, more network spend. You can kind of drill in on it and see okay, it looks like it's sending a lot of traffic, to S3 and EC2 and not so much to the internet. So let's dig into that and understand, why this application is sending so much to S3, for instance.
Oh my God, that's so cool. I really like the graphic and I like the thickness. So the thickness of the arrow is based on the cost of
Exactly. It's based on the cost of the two nodes, if you will, from A to B here.
Yeah, that's really clever. I haven't seen anything like that before. And I like the way you can drill in. All right, that's really cool. All right, anything else before we wrap up?
Yeah, I mean, just my final note is maybe we also have some governance. So once you've taken the steps needed to optimize or make your spend more efficient, governing it is super important, right? To make sure you continue with those efficiency gains. So it's pretty easy to just kind of set a budget or detect anomalies, whatever you need to do. You can kind of do it all with KubeCost.
Brilliant! Thank you so much. Okay, on to the last bit, was probably one of the final questions, which is, I mentioned the pay tier elements, we kind of touched on them, but what is the pay metric? Obviously, you guys have so much open source, which is just truly great and amazing, and hopefully customers watching can go and give it a go. Just set it out, just try it. But yeah, what does the paid element kind of look like?
Yeah, so we kind of price based on core count. So once you've decided you want the enterprise tier, we price based on core count. It starts at just $500 a month, and then based on your core count, we'll kind of slot you into two different tiers. So it's not like a pay per core or anything like that. You're kind of in a tier, so you have a flat monthly yearly rate or monthly rate. But yeah, it starts at $500 a month. And goes up from there, just depending on the size and needs of your organization.
Yeah, when you need to grow or you need to scale, we always say to partner organizations, if you can afford to try something small and then develop it yourself or manage it yourself, then you do. But if you need more, then sometimes you have to pay for it.
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much for joining me today and talking through this. I feel like I need to go and deploy some more clusters so I can have a little play around with KubeCost. So everyone watching, I believe you enjoyed that. And let us know in the comments, are there any third parties you would like us to have a look at and have a chat with? If not, thank you so much, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Awesome. Thanks, Steph.